Welcome back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are back from the crab cake tour and about to start another crab cake tour. We're going to be at the Chaucer in Highlandtown next Friday, the 10th, Purple Friday, getting you ready for the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll be at Chaucer having some fun and eating a crab cake along the way, probably having a beer, maybe even some vodka before it's all over with. This guy here hails from Western Maryland. He was one of my resources that I used in far-flung places to find crab cakes that were better than, let's say, the ones I had in Cumberland or the ones I had in St. Michael's, the awful ones I had down in Southern Maryland. This guy helped me find a legitimate crab cake in Hagerstown, Maryland. He makes his home down in the D.C. suburbs. You may have heard of his podcast or seen him on with Don and I in ensemble format with a minor detail. We welcome Ryan Miner back on. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, man.
Good crab cakes. When's the last time you had a good crab cake?
I don't know. I can't remember. I haven't had a crab cake for a while. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of years. I think the last time I had a really memorable crab cake was probably at Jimmy's down in Baltimore.
Okay. Pandemic or no pandemic?
Oh, no. This was pre-pandemic.
You haven't had a crab cake in a year and a half?
Probably not. I was with Foxwell and I was over at Jimmy's. Yeah, that was probably it.
I would say this to you that I have had 41 in the last 32 days. So I've eaten them all. There's none left for you. I've cleaned the whole state out of crab at this point. But
how was it?
You know what? It was really amazing. And I've heard you speak at length in regard to being from Western Maryland politically, how things are different, how you went to the big city and your thoughts changed, your feelings about things. You've been lengthy about that. I must admit that post-Trump, I've been places. I've been to Texas. I've been to places where they voted for Trump, Florida. I haven't really been looking on the Eastern Shore or in Western Maryland in the last 5 years to drive around to say, you know, what's happened to the people that used to vote for Martin O'Malley or used to vote for Bill Clinton, or maybe he threw a vote in for, George Bush, but were a Democrat in this 70-30 state and all of that. It was really eye-opening to travel the state to see how differently life is lived in the modern era. And I really would begin this with where I began a conversation with the governor the other day, where Heather Mazier and I talked in Chestertown, or issues of the Eastern Shore and Western Maryland, which is communication, information, how it flows, how it's accepted, what the verification is for the information when you get it. It's really different when you don't live in a city, and it's really, really different when you're cut off from information in a modern way. And I don't mean to be disparaging of small towns in any way, but it's very, very clear to me that information flows differently there.
Yeah, it does. And that information that flows differently, it's not for a lack of resources. It's because people get into a thought bubble. And it happens on both sides, but it's even more important now that we recognize it, because the information that is flowing is information that's going to lead people to get killed. And, you know, Nestor, I don't have a whole lot of patience anymore. I've tried the responsible track of understanding where they're coming from.
Let's be nice to these people. Let's try to figure it out. Maybe they're frightened of taking the shot, right?
I don't care anymore. And I have to say it. I'm not happy with how they're. It's raining. I'm going to go under the tree here. Can you believe this is only for you, brother? I would only do this for you.
We really should have done this when it was more ideal, because
no, that's okay.
Yeah.
No, it gives it even more character, and people will remember this interview that I'm standing in Rockville, in Falls Grove, when it's pouring down rain.
Did not have a crab cake there. Considered one in Rockville. I actually had one closer to Silver Spring, which I wasn't convinced that it was east of the center top of the diamond. So I thought it must have been PG County. But it wasn't. It was legitimately Montgomery County. I went to a place called Chrisfield Seafood. Fantastic crab cake there, my friend.
Let me say this let me just go back to your point that there's information up there. Look, a great place to live, raise a family. But I have to tell you that you see where COVID rates are spiking. You see it. It's in places where, I hate to say it,
there are no doctors.
There aren't. Well, yeah. And there's one hospital, not to no fault of their own, but it's where people voted for Donald Trump. And even Trump is coming out and talking about get vaccinated. And it's a hint, hint, wink, wink. And maybe that's because he wants to be president again. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not really interested in the politics, but I'm interested in understanding how to get these people on board. Otherwise, they're going to continue to kill some people, and we don't deserve as Americans to have
I'm
any
going to
money.
an Eagles concert tonight. I have to wear a mask in Washington, D.C. in a hockey rink.
I don't
And it's
mind.
been we're getting on 2 years now. This isn't going away before March, right? I
Yeah,
think most of the astute people like you and I have spent some time around doctors on the Eastern Shore, Western Maryland, around the country. What's happening in these states with no ICU beds? Now we have a hurricane. Lord knows whatever else happens here. That
tornado today in Rockville.
well, we are in the position now for me with these concerts, going to Merriweather the other night, running to Damien O'Doherty at Atlantis, seeing the Eagles. I have Stones tickets in 34 days in Pittsburgh, place you're familiar with.
Yeah.
I feel like if I make it to the Stones concert and that's the swan song, like if they get on stage and shake their ass 3 or 4 times before they end all of this, we've already lost Charlie along the way, that I don't feel like I'm going to any concerts certainly after Halloween. My birthday's October 14th. I just feel like November, December, January, February, March, I'm giving away. I just feel like there's no way we're going to be able to continue at this pace with a plague.
No, I don't think so. I've been responsible. I wear my mask everywhere. I wear a double mask at some places. I work in a healthcare field that I am in and out of nursing facilities, skilled nursing facilities throughout Montgomery County and assisted living communities. I work with a lot of aging adults and seniors. And
now, Larry Hogan told me in the state, it's like 92% or something like that over 65 with shots. It's a big no. It's a good number. It's an excellent number.
To the governor's credit, he has handled the pandemic, I think, as best as he possibly could. He's implemented the right restrictions at the right times, and he's taken a lot of heat politically. It shouldn't even be political, but I don't understand it. You may help me better understand why people consider getting a vaccine as political when the majority of people talking about the vaccines have absolutely no pedigree in science whatsoever, nor do they fundamentally understand immunology. That bothers me.
I don't understand radio, but I own a radio station. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know how
it
works. I really don't. I've said that. Like, I don't know how the tower sends out waves and our voices wind up in cars. I don't know how this thing works. Like, I really don't. But I respect that either I need to figure it out, but I shouldn't argue with the guy who does know how it works. You know what I mean? I should at least have and as a journalist, and I feel like I've lived a lot, and I'm pretty educated. I don't argue with people who are experts in their field other than to do what I do on this program, which is to say, teach me how that works and make me believe it, right? Make me, when we're done, understand it and accept that it's real. And if you can't do that, and that's why I think a lot of people have problems with religion and other things, there is no facts are facts. Science is something we never argued because it's science.
because
And
it
now
can
all
be
of a sudden,
verified.
that's becoming a debate as though like religion's a debate or whether debating your fantasy football team, that we should do that with a plague. We've really commoditized science and made it optional. And that's Russian. I don't know what else to say.
No, I agree. Look, we can debate the existence of God, and there is a debate to be had there. But I'm someone that is leaning towards the agnostic state because if I can't see it and tangibly touch it, then
we can have all the arguments you want about religion. If you believe it, God bless you. But you can't convince me with a fact that with science, with something tangible, that it's, I went to church, confirmed I'm just saying that's one of those issues that you just believe to believe. And then what happens after that becomes quite frightening. And
it's
where
not
we are right now, believing to believe because you read it on the internet, and people are dying, and that's what should be believed. The truth is, go down to the hospital and see my doctor friends wear N95 masks over in the Eastern Shore and see the abject stupidity that people come in with COVID and what they believe before they have it, and even what they believe as they're dying, right?
No, you've read the stories about the conservatives. I think that even a radio host who caught COVID, was in the ICU and ended up dying. There's multiple stories like this. Now it's happening in children. Parents in Montgomery County are waging battles against masks, and my kids are a freshman and a senior in one of the public schools here in Montgomery County.
You are wearing your kids are wearing masks, obviously.
Of
you wouldn't go to
course,
school without it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I ask them every day, "How's it going?" They're on day 3, and unfortunately, they got out of school early today because there's a freaking tornado. They don't have any problems. It's like they don't care. They understand that, yes, while it sucks to wear a mask all day, fine with it. They're fine with it. And they understand it a lot better than adults. And when you were up in Western Maryland, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What was the mask ratio when you were, I don't know if you went into any stores or if you were out in restaurants or inside, how many people were actually wearing masks?
It's funny you'd ask that because like I was outside a lot, you know what I mean? And outside places. And I don't know that so I was at Rick's Cafe in Hagerstown. I went in, 50% maybe of people, but in a restaurant, it's different because we're eating. I was in a restaurant in Columbia the other night and the servers weren't wearing masks. And I thought that was sort of like not smart.
Did it bother you?
I'm twice vaccinated. I feel okay, but I understand people. I just had Peter King on today talking football. Rich Eisen, twice vaccinated, had 5 days of really bad sickness. I don't want to get sick. Nobody wants to get sick. I have avoided getting near people, and I've offended a lot of effing people.
I know.
I mean, friends of mine, where when they come up, I go elbow first. Oh, you're one of those guys. Yeah, effing A right, I'm one of those guys. I don't need to hug you to love you. I don't need to shake your hand to show you I'm a man. I don't need to hug you because you're pretty and I smell good. Trust me. I mean, my hair's nice. I just right now I don't need to hug you. And when it's safe, I'll hug. I'll lick you. You know what I mean? Like, but I have gotten pushback on that. On the welcoming with an elbow, which is as friendly. That tells you I love you. It tells you I want to interact with you. But and my wife had cancer twice, so I have a whole different.
Yeah.
That's where the elbow thing started for me. It was in 2014, and I had people being irresponsible around my wife when she was compromised, and I didn't like it. And I don't feel like we're compromised right now. I feel shot up. I feel like if I did have it, I don't want to give it to anybody. I've worn a mask. By the way, you ask about the mask. This is the fun part for you, okay? Because you're from Hagerstown. Everywhere west of Mount Airy, I wore my Ravens mask just to piss them off. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of Ravens fans.
Whether it was a mask, it just they're Steelers fans, right? So that there was that going on. So I did have the football thing happening. I found a lot of things offensive in regard to politics, in regard to the giant Confederate flags that I saw.
You saw them
in lots of parts of the state. The F Biden stuff, all of that sort of thing. I mean, I didn't like Donald Trump, but I didn't put an F Donald Trump sign out in front of my building. I did have a shirt though.
No, because you have class. I mean, there's a difference. And, I've learned a lot this year. I've backed off a lot on social media and I've had a lot of hard lessons and, I've gone through some personal upheavals, but unlike, just like everybody else, but, I'm 35. I'm trying to figure my way out in this world, but I do know that I trust scientists. And Nestor, Can we just shift real quick?
Sure.
And I want to bring up politics. I love politics, and you and I love politics, and you and I and Don. I miss Don.
I don't love politics. I loved sports. Okay. I don't love sports anymore because sports doesn't love me back. Have you seen the Orioles? You know what I mean? No. So there is and I've done this for a living, right? So it's the way I feed my family. So it's personal for me. Politics is something I've had to get involved in. I can't sell my condo, and I just had the governor of the state sit next to me and disparage my city for 20 minutes, and we've done enough for you people. We've done enough. We've given enough. I just heard the governor basically say that to me. So that's why I'm involved, to make sure that we don't have someone in Annapolis feeling that way about Baltimore the next time, because we've had enough of that. And so that is, I got involved after Freddie Gray. I got involved after Donald Trump. I got involved after not being able to sell my condo. I got involved after the knee, when people were canceling me because football players took a knee. So that's why I got involved, but I don't love, matter of fact, I kind of hate politics. I hate when bullshit politicians sit next to me and quote statistics that they made up and paid for. So I don't like that. I do like good people, and I like good souls. And for me, I want better human beings in government. So that's my skin in the game for I need honest people who aren't full of shit in government.
Well,
And I know the money has greatly, that's been the most disappointing part to me, to see how overwhelming the money is and what it means for politics. So that would be my jam.
I'm sorry to hear that about the governor. Look, I'm mixed. I think Governor Hogan's. I think he's done a decent job. He's reached out into a whole different audience, but there's
I
things
agree with you. I think he's doing a nice job. I don't like his policies toward Baltimore or his demeanor, quite frankly. I found it. I didn't like it. And I would be happy to. He didn't have enough time to leave. He had a crab cake. It was pleasant. I didn't like his demeanor. I don't like his demeanor toward Baltimore.
Well, fair enough, and that's your city. That's where you know. That's what you love. But
he owns the successes of the state and pushes off the failures of the city. And I found that to be no bueno for me.
No, I think that the governor his legacy will be, in essence, who replaces him as the Republican nominee. Let's talk briefly about that.
Sure.
So you have Secretary Kelly Schultz, Secretary of Commerce, who is by and large a very good and fundamentally decent person who has experience. I don't understand why she's tracking off to the hard right, and I don't understand why she's lambasting these,
because she
masks.
thinks that's politics and winning. In the same way that Michael Steele's afraid to get in because he thinks he can't win.
No, well, Michael Steele's going to get in, I think. You think?
I hope so. We sat with him a couple weeks ago. Michael Steele is a guy, when I sit with him, I don't feel like he's full of ish.
No, he's not. He's not. And think about it. Why hasn't Governor Hogan endorsed Kelly Schultz? Because why would he? I mean, he's biding his time. He doesn't owe her anything. In fact, she owes her rise in politics in Maryland to where she is today because Larry Hogan tapped her for labor and then subsequently commerce. But then people like Dan Cox, who's a state delegate, Frederick County, and the guy is an absolute kook. He's a kook. He is an illegitimate candidate running a illegitimate race, but with a legitimate shot at actually winning the Republican nomination because he has bought all in on Trump. Everything that he says is either fabricated, a lie, or he just is taking the Trump track. It's disgusting. I think that the guy is an absolute lunatic.
I'll give Larry a lot of credit for this. He sat and disparaged Trump in my presence, and it made me want to sit a little closer to him. And I said, I came home, my wife asked me, he talked badly about Trump in a way that I found to be at least mildly acceptable, not as unacceptable as I found him sitting in the State House and enduring it for 3 years and not saying that's wrong, because it was very, very easy for anyone to look at that shit show and call it wrong. It was wrong. Every part of it was wrong. And in retrospect, and I call it. So for the people that think it's right, I'm never going to correct that. But for the Michael Steeles, for the Barry Glassmans, for the Larry Hogans, for the Reagan Republicans, even the ones who voted for him 30 years after he's dead. And we did discuss that I wasn't happy with his answer, but I did have to ask him, why did you vote for a dead man? I mean, really?
I don't think he voted for him. I really don't. Do you buy that? I think it's nonsense.
He sat next to me and told me he did. So then
well, he also said,
calling him a liar.
Well, he also says that, the Labor Department is in great shape under Tiffany Robinson, which it's come on. Look, Larry Hogan's a politician. I respect him. I think he's done the best job. It's far better than some of the ultra left-wing kooks that we have in Montgomery County. For guys like me who are really just squarely in the middle, there's not a whole lot of avenue for me to travel within either party.
Most of us are in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But
I have issues I'm left of Bernie Sanders on, including what happened in Texas this morning, right? With Roe versus Wade. But I am at heart understanding that the center is where we live, and it's where we're best. It's where every society is the best in saying, I can live with this, I'm against that, but we have a good place. Not you're really trying to screw the place up, which is really where we've been the last decade, which is taking away women's rights in Texas, and it's basically an American Taliban at that point if you're going to tell women what they can do.
Who's going to win Democratic nomination if it were held tomorrow?
Say that again. You broke up on me.
Sorry, who would win the Democratic gubernatorial nomination tomorrow?
I don't know. Probably Peter Franchot because he hasn't campaigned enough to lose votes. And Westmore's not known enough. I was with Tom Perez last. I had somebody say to me, Michael Steele should run as a Democrat. He'd win. And then, of course, Don says he's not a Democrat. We sat with him.
You think it's going to be Franchot?
I think Franchot's name recognition is going to work to his favor, and I think these other candidates need to work.
Well,
I'm not going to vote for Peter Franchot. I would tell you that, and I'll tell him that, and I'll have him on the show and gladly tell him that. But I think he thinks he's going to win.
Yeah, they're overconfident. In fact, he's nominating himself as the Democratic frontrunner, which if they still had Len Foxwell on staff, they would tell you to run 10 points down and 50 yards behind. His staff is arrogant. They've gotten cocky, except for Manny. Peter's a good guy at heart. He's aloof. I don't know what he really offers that is different. I used to be on the Franchot bandwagon, but I've sort of not seen anything that really entices me to say, wow, he's going to be a great governor simply because
when I think of Peter Franchot, having met him, I think of a politician, and I don't like politicians, and I felt too much of that from Larry, and it's probably one of the reasons that I like Don when he and I are on the right side is that he never was a politician and can at least speak on the other side of that in a way that the politician, I certainly see Ehrlich in that way now. After having been used by him to help him get votes 20 years ago. I denounced him. I denounce him again and again, but I've really backed up into not wanting. I mean, I voted for TJ Smith because I thought he wasn't a politician in the city, and I felt better. And I thought Mary Miller tried too hard to be these people that are trying to be a politician. It's not appealing to me. Just
be yourself.
A compliment to say that you act like a politician. To me, that's someone I don't want to vote for.
No, I'm straight up with you on that one.
I think that be a good human.
I think that the buzz will be with Westmore. Honestly,
he's a good human.
He is a good human.
I don't know if he'll be a good politician or not, but he's a good human.
Who cares? If he's as long as you're a good human and he puts something forward that's different. Tom Perez is a politician. I like Doug Gansler because Doug Gansler actually has a very strong propensity to tell it the way it is. And
I don't know Doug.
He's a good guy and he's very smart and he has a tell it the way it is. And he's got good people behind him. And I think that Peter Franchot will be I don't know what kind of governor he will be. I suspect that if it were held tomorrow based on name recognition alone, he would win. However, I think the buzz is really with Wes Moore. I hear more and more grassroots people and his message is resonating. I don't know what it is yet, but there's other people in the race too that really deserve to be looked at, like John Barron, who's a business guy, nonprofit leader. But
different John Barron than the one that answered the phone at Trump Tower?
Yes, the different John Barron.
I read about that other John Barron. I just want to make sure that.
Yes, not Trump's personal self-appointed PR agent who actually, in effect, was him himself. But no, this is another
You can't
John
make
Barron.
it up, right? I mean, it really is.
Where are the women? Where are the women in the race? There's one female running for governor, and she's on the Republican side.
Well, these are great questions. Ryan Miner's here, a minor detail. Our friend, our Western Maryland friend that I relied on for crab cakes and entertainment.
Rick's Cafe, man.
Hagerstown. By the way, we wound up going to the a German restaurant because so the trip was about serendipity. I kept running into people that I like and having wonderful experience, like just every single thing, right down to the governor coming and having a crab cake with us. And it went according to plan.
That's cool.
But seeing different places and going and driving around and not being on the highway was the whole purpose of the trip. So I had never been into Hagerstown past like the mall and the Chick-fil-A, right? Like, on the west side, going out toward Breezewood. So we drove into the city. We went to Rick's. We had donuts at that incredible nighttime. Crumpies.
Yeah.
What do you know? Why do they open at night?
They open at night. So a guy by the name of Max Crumpy owns the place, and they open at night. They make the donuts fresh, and people come get them early in the mornings. They send them out to the local stores. It's a legend. It's a legendary place. And then the night before Lent begins, False Nut Tuesday, you always have a line. It's a really cool little local spot.
You never told, no, I never heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't
haven't
even
seen
think about
Guy
it.
Fieri there or any, like, and I
Guy
found it on a
Fieri.
Google
Yeah.
Maps search looking for ice cream, believe it or not. I was looking for ice cream and it popped up and I looked at it and it looked so popular. Like, I do this all over the world trying to find good places to go and eat and experience when I'm traveling. And I saw it. It was really close to where I was. And I was like, before we go to Rick's, let's check this donut place out because it says online 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And I said to Jen, that's just got to be a mistake. Like it's got to be open at 7 a.m.
Did you
It's a
get
donut
donuts?
place. We went to Rick's at 5:30. We drove around Hagerstown. Well, I was going to tell you. So we went to Rick's and didn't want to go in because we weren't hungry. We were like, let's buy a little more time. Let's wait. It was early. It was like 4:30. It was early.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, I'm not really hungry now. We'll be hungrier later. Let's look around the city now and we'll come back and eat later. It won't be crowded. It'll be fine. So we drove through Hagerstown, through downtown to the north side. I saw the beautiful park on the northeast sort of tip of downtown that looks down into the valley. It was beautiful. And we drove around. And when I went downtown, everything on this trip, my wife's had her life saved twice on the bone marrow registry by a German man. And everywhere we went, we saw New German Road, Germany Road. And now we're in downtown Hagerstown, and we passed this very clear, big place at the edge of downtown, that was, can you pronounce it?
Schmeckelstube.
Schmeckelstube.
Something like that.
I didn't, right. So I Google mapped it. I said to my wife, I'm like, German restaurant. I said, this place looks like the best restaurant in town. Like it looks like it's been
one of
forever. It's like an institution place.
Yep.
And I said to her, maybe we go back to Rick's. We'll only have the crab cake instead of getting into the menu. We'll split that. And then we'll come back here and have it because it was speaking to me. As the last night we were out, Friday night, we were going to Frederick on Saturday, but we're getting toward the end of the tour. And I'm like, I could go with some German food tonight to honor Niels. We passed it. This place looks great. So we went back and we sat outside. I got a couple of mosquito bites. This is a Hagerstown mosquito, and I had another one up here on my arm. As you can see, that right there is a Hagerstown mosquito.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Sit outside. It's beautiful, and I loved Hagerstown. It was bigger than I thought. There was more there than I thought. It was more than like a mall and whatever, and a lot of homes, a lot of beautiful homes. History, a great donut. I underestimated Hagerstown, but I really underestimated Frederick. Frederick was really nice.
Yeah, Frederick's great. It's a nice burgeoning city. It's really where people are relocating. But look, Hagerstown has a lot of promise. It's just that there's not vision. There's not a lot of vision in Hagerstown and quite frankly, Western Maryland. Look, I loved it. I love my hometown. I have a indelible attachment to it. My grandfather worked for the city of Hagerstown for 30 plus years. He passed away last December.
So you know that park is what you're telling me.
I do. I really do. And it's home. It will always be home. I have a lot of respect. And
you know what? It felt like a good home. I swear. Like I thought of you and I thought of my friend Ethan Giffen. And I'm trying to think in my whole life how many people. I think my friend Molly Glassman's from Frederick, maybe Hagerstown. I see her next week. She was one of my dear friends and my boss and my sponsor who gave me a life 35 years ago. And I'm trying to like Steve Whiteman's from Hagerstown. I had him on a couple months ago.
He went to my church,
Really?
He used to sit right behind me, him and his wife and his daughter. And I think he has a son too. They lived in the neighborhood where I grew up. He's one of the nicest guys ever. And he looks the same as he did when he was in Kicks and
sings better.
And he's an amazing, wonderful, good Catholic. He really is. He's a great Catholic.
He's a good guy. I've known Steve forever. He gave me voice lessons back when I was losing my voice when I went on radio. I was screaming. Yeah, nasty, Nestor, screaming. Steve's like, it's got to come from the diaphragm. You got to do it down here. You got to sing it down here. So I love Steve. And by the way, Kicks, a little Western Maryland thing for you. Okay, being from Hagerstown, how much did you use Deep Creek, Rocky Gap, and Savage Creek? Were you Western in that way where you probably use Baltimore more, right?
No, we went to Orioles games when I was a kid. However, when I was probably growing up between 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, well, even into my teens, I spent time up in the Allegheny County, the mountains, the Green Ridge Mountains, because my grandfather belonged to a hunting club up there, and I went up there with Boy Scouts. I spent some time really traveling amongst the Appalachia. Great experience. I learned a lot. Wonderful people. Well, I don't really know the people, but I knew the people who belonged to this hunting club. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time in Baltimore City. It was just a place to go that if it was special. I spent time really in Williamsport, Hagerstown, sometimes Frederick, but I I don't know.
I've never
I
been to
don't think
Cumberland. I didn't know how high on a hill Frostburg was, right? I
Cumberland's
had
nice.
never been to Oakland, and it's smaller than I thought, and I antiqued a little bit. I didn't know Swallow Falls existed, and my wife and I, it was one of the most beautiful places ever. I've never been in a waterfall. So like in my life, it's too much in the woods, it's too many mosquitoes. I felt like I needed a machete to hatchet my way, and it wasn't like that at all, man. You parked the car, this is such a beautiful state. Like,
It is.
and now that will never leave me. The 30 days of doing this, what my eyes saw on the road, on the Eastern Shore, how beautiful the state is. I spent too much time at baseball games, Ryan, in my youth. I really did. I didn't spend enough time at the hunting club in Allegheny County.
Well, it's not for everybody, and I got that was something that I did because it was through family, and it wasn't. Look, when I was a teenager and in high school, and I was going up there, was it the greatest fun that I've ever had? No, but it was still something that I did with my granddad that was very special to me. That I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I could just
Do
get
that
those
one more time.
moments back.
One more time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, he died. My grandfather died in 2009 at a very young age, at 72 years old, retired. He was career Air Force. He went hunting 2 days after Thanksgiving, which was his tradition. And he walked out into the Green Ridge Mountains to the hunting spot that he had gone to for 30 plus years. And he had a massive heart attack in the woods and he died.
Oh,
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
my heart on that 12 years ago. Ryan Miner's here. He is a Miner Detail. You can find him out. He does podcasts sometimes, a little more hiatusy here this year, but I definitely wanted to reach out to you because I got to see your hometown, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk about your hometown, and I saw all sorts of things across the state. People ask me how it went. Here's how it went, right? We came home like a day early on Saturday night from Frederick, and then I wound up having a local crab cake on the 29th and the governor on the 30th. That by the time I got home the morning of the 29th on Sunday morning, I did 30 crab cakes because it's my 30th anniversary in radio in December. I've decided next year that
Amazing.
August conveniently has 31 days. So instead of seeing
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette on the 31st day like I did this week at Meriwether Post in Howard County, I've decided I think I'm going to do 31 crab cakes in 31 days for my 31st anniversary next year. And again, use it as an excuse to come back to Hagerstown and have a crab cake at that. Tell me the place you had the crab cakes with your grandfather. What was it called?
Place that I had crab cakes with my
Hagerstown. You gave me the list of all the names. You sent me
Oh,
4 places and I picked one.
there's the Stadium Tavern,
Okay.
which is an excellent crab cake. There's Shula's. There is Rick's, which
Shula's had a CH. I looked at that.
yes.
And there's another Chic. Chic, is that right? Chic seafood?
Oh, Chicks.
Chicks.
It's like Chicks.
I call it
yeah,
chic,
it's right,
like freak out, like freak, like
it's right by the
CHIC, chic.
it's right by the park. It's right by the
Correct. I
Hagerstown
went
City
past
Park.
it.
Yeah.
Very humble little
It has
place.
a big crab on top.
One of those places is the place I'm going to have the crab cake next year in Hagerstown. And I think that's the way I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go see other parts of things. So I went all over that area. We drove out of Hagerstown down toward Antietam. And is it Shepherdstown maybe or whatever?
Shepherdstown is West Virginia.
So we went into West Virginia. I got gas in Martinsburg, and I came back out. And we went to Antietam. But I do all of this stuff. We go up to Frederick. We saw all these places. Went to Middletown, right? And of course, I have my dear friend Dennis Curtin on from Wise Markets, one of our sponsors. I have my mug here. He comes on. He's like, "Did you go to Brunswick?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't go to Brunswick. I missed Brunswick. You got to go to Brunswick. It's right next to Harper's Ferry." And I'm like,
Great cafe there.
next year, I'm going to go to Brunswick is what I'm going to do. Next year,
Well,
I'm going
when
to
you're,
eat in Hancock because I didn't this time.
oh
Um,
man, you missed Buddy Lou's.
I went to Buddy Lou's. How about this? We weren't hungry. Dude, I can only eat 3 times a day. I mean, don't come on.
Yeah.
It's bad enough. And every time I ate and somebody knew me, they tried to buy me more and give me extra French fry. I don't want all that. So I went to Buddy Lou's and we weren't hungry, but I went into the basement, and you'll appreciate this because you had mentors. You speak lovingly about your grandfather. John Stedman was one of my many mentors. I mean, Don Moeller's one of my mentors, but John Stedman was my original mentor at the paper. And I went down into the basement of Buddy Lou's, antiquing in there. And the first thing, it was like it called to me like a light, John Stedman's 1959 book, copyrighted 50, perfect white paper. It was really well kept. And I didn't buy it. It was $10, and I left it there. And I swear this is true. I left it there. And it was right around the time I was like, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do a tour again. Not that I'm going to come back to Hancock, because I'm driving through Hancock when I go to Pittsburgh next time, right? So I said next summer I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this again. And if the book's here, I'm going to buy it. Because it means it was meant for me. Because I wasn't going to read it in the next year. I've got a couple Stedman books. But I feel like I left it there in case someone else needed it or wanted it on the 59 calls. But if nobody takes it next year, they're getting my $10. I'll be looking for it. The next time I go to Hancock, I'll drive in. If it's there, it's meant for me. If not, it wasn't meant for me. But I did go to Buddy Lou's. The food looked good. I'll meet you at Buddy Lou's for food next
I would
year.
love to. Seriously, I would love to. Hancock is very special to me. I have dear friends who lived there for many years, and I spent some time up there when I was a kid. It's a great town right behind the C&O Canal. And when we go to Buddy Lou's, I really do want to take you over to one of the best local diners in Maryland, and it's right down the street from Buddy Lou's.
You're making me eat twice in Hancock already.
Yeah. And it's a neat little place called Park and Dine. It's one of the best local diners. They have great pies, and I promise you, it's one of the best spots. And I want to take you there.
Did you say pie?
Yeah, they have pie.
You got my attention.
Good. And one more thing I want to say too. You're right about Don Moeller being a great mentor, and I got to know Don over the last couple of years, and it's no secret that in my lifetime, I have peaks and valleys. I go up and down, and sometimes I create my own issues. But this year, you're right, I have taken a hiatus, and the reason why, Nestor, is because I needed to step back and realize what's important, which is family, which kids, and work on my marriage, to be honest with you. And I've come to some real hard truths about life in the last year or so, and it's just to hit myself every day with a 100-pound sack of potatoes of hardcore truth. And so I am, it's humbled me beyond words. I can't really talk about it, but the people that reach out to you, like when you're at your lowest, or man, when crap hits the fan, and especially it exacerbates it when politics are involved and people dislike your politics for whatever reason. But Don Moeller is one of those guys that have always reached out to me during hardships and has reassured me in a way that even at the time I didn't understand, but says, look, you're going to get through these things. It's going to be okay. And Don's a great man, and I really have so much respect for him. And it's no wonder he's been so successful in public life, not only as a teacher, as a principal, as a chief of staff, and then as a interim county executive. And now as your partner in crime in Baltimore Positive, I have a lot of respect for someone like Don. He's an institution of knowledge and someone that will truly care about people and come through for them. And I hope people who are listening know that about Don, that he is just a fundamentally decent man. And so are you, Nestor.
Well, we fight. Don and I fight, and we had a pretty knockdown on the Larry Hogan thing because we thought it went differently. And I'm like, it went political. It was like two politicians arguing because it was 40 minutes. It was pretty spicy, and it felt to me like Larry doesn't like Don much or like those policies much and push back. It was jovial. It was fine. It was fun. It was whatever. But
why he doesn't
I can tell Larry likes to fight. And I don't think Don likes to fight because I've known him 39 years, but I think he's willing to on principle and whatever. But I want to say one more thing on Don because I don't love Don. I give Don a hard time on here, sort of famously as part of our shtick. But I was with Dan Rodricks fishing out on the Savage River. We're down in Western Port next to Luke, Maryland, if you can appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
Down past Lona Koning and the Lefty
Lona
Grove
Koning.
Memorial Park and all that. So we fished all day, and Dan was really tired. He hadn't slept all night. He was working. He's had some issues off the field during the week that set him back. His son blew his ACL. He's supposed to be our guide. So Dan's out being magnanimous, had never really met my wife, had never met Eric Sauer, his son. He was tired, and guided us for 5 hours on the water and took us out. And 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock cast. We fly fishing. So at the end, we're packing up, and we got to BSing a little bit, putting stuff in the car. And he went on and on about what a good human Don Moeller is. And I'm like, Dan, I've known Don since I was 13 years old. Like, I know what kind of human Don Moeller is. But to hear Dan say, I've been doing this 40 years, all this, Don Moeller's a good guy. He's a good guy. And I'm like, I don't hear that enough, and I don't say that enough on the air. So when you say it, I want to pile on and let everybody know that I think he's a good guy. But more than that, you're the second person that's randomly offered that to me in the last couple of days to reassure me that I'm in good company around here. But I know that already.
Well, I think that that's a testament to Don, and he will appreciate that, I'm sure. But he's a very humble guy too, and
I'll say bad things about him off the air. Hit me later.
Well, that's okay. Well, I love the show, and I love listening to you guys. And you're right. I'm going to get back into this podcasting, but you know what though? I really needed time and just to sit back and just figure out where I was headed in my life, and just to exhale. And I feel like that time away from politics has really reshaped my perspective, and just general spending time with my family, recognizing what's really important. Sometimes the humbling things out of life really do reshape your perspective, and people can see me for I hope that they can see me that I'm I'm not the moniker that they make me out to be sometimes. And it hurts. I got to be real. I mean, truly, some people say these awful things, and I'm like, you've never even met me. How do you know that? How would you even possibly come to that?
I did 30 years on the radio here, bro. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, man. I mean, you
all.
got a lot of crap from people that are just hateful and mean, but you took it and tried, and you pushed back, and you held your ground. And I respect that. And that's kind of where I am. But I think that stepping back and listening to you guys and watching what other people are doing is also equally as fun. Really, I love watching people create, and you are a creator. You're an impact player, and I admire you, Nestor. I really do.
It's very kind of you to say that. And I appreciate you giving me a crab cake recommendation that was interesting and delicious.
Good. I'm glad that you enjoyed your trip to
Rick
Hagerstown.
had broccolini on the menu. Once I found that they had broccolini, I'm like, legitimate this place here. So
interesting cat he is.
Ryan, I appreciate you, and it's good to have you back on the air with us and talking some Hagerstown and talking some Western Maryland. And I will say this about Western Maryland. I went a lot of places. I never knew how beautiful Rocky Gap was going to be. Like, I just
cool, isn't it?
I didn't conceive. Like, I pulled in, and I'm like, because when it has a casino, it has a little bit of a. It just, I don't want to say it diminishes it, but it's a casino. How nice can it be? That's how I feel about casinos, having been all over the world to casinos, and I'm not against casinos. I'm just like, how nice can it be? Really, really nice. And by the way, the chef there is pissed at me because I didn't get a crab cake there. So he was emailing me to get a crab cake. We have the best crab cakes. So I know I'll be at Rocky Gap. I know I'll make it back there. I stayed at Wisp. I've never been to Wisp. We didn't get to ride the coaster because we were too busy when the coaster was open. So we got to go back to ride the coaster. We got to go back to actually get on the lake at Deep Creek because we didn't have enough time to do that. So, and I got to buy a fishing rod over Tony Tochterman's place. So I promise to do all of that. And I will, when I head west next time, you and I will at the very least antique at Buddy Lou's. Okay?
Let's antique at Buddy Lou's, and we'll enjoy it. Have a good time. So thanks for having me on. This was great. It's fun. This was one of the best parts of my day. I was at the doctor's office.
And all of this, it's wild because you started in the rain. Now it literally looks like your background's fake. Like that's not a real park.
It's
Like you
not.
couldn't really touch that tree. It looks, if the leaves weren't moving, it looks like a Zoom background. It's so bucolic, I would say.
It's the Hilton Honors uh, over in Falls Grove in Shady Grove. I just came from the doctor's office. I saw my rheumatologist. I have to do blood work because I have problems that are apparently undiscovered. So I had to go to the doctor's, which sucks, but
You look fine
I
to
have to
me.
get, I feel good. I mean, I really do. I have high blood pressure though. It was 150 over like
Stay away from the
120.
salt. Come on, put it down.
I do. And
All right.
look, you're right. You're right.
No crab
I eat a
cakes
lot
for
of
you. I'm gonna have a
no crab
salt-free
cakes for
crab
me.
cake when you're here.
Ugh,
If you get the right
yuck.
meat, it tastes delicious. You won't need any salt. Trust me. Ryan Miner, a minor detail, and all things Hagerstown, Rockville, and parts of Maryland from various points, including Hancock and Allegheny County. I am Nestor. You can
Yeah.
find me out on the road anywhere. Big appreciation to all of our sponsors. Wise Markets, making it happen. I had a great conversation with Dennis Curtin about rounding up this month when you're checking out, helping folks who are hungry. We're fighting hunger this month at Wise Markets. I want to let everybody know about that. I'm wearing my Chicken Palooza shirt, even though Chicken Palooza is over. It's never over for me. I eat chicken year round. I don't know why it tasted better on the Eastern Shore. It just does. Just trust me on that. And also our friends at Coons Ford. Dennis put me out in that 2022 blue Bronco that I took out to the Eastern Shore and had too much attention on myself, quite frankly, for all that. So we appreciate all our sponsors. We're getting back after football next week. I'm headed to Vegas next week. We are kicking off the local Maryland Crab Cake Tour, Tour Stop 1. Hollandtown, hon, next Friday, Purple Friday at the Chaucer at Foster and Highland Avenue. Come on by, get a crab cake with me next Friday, the 10th, as we kick off the real Maryland Crab Cake Tour, which is every Friday, but only good crab cakes. I'm Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.